in that direction. I've noticed that you're relatively close to the Fnatic colors, so I'm going to assume with the majority of the desk that you're going in that direction. Now, I'm going to go OG, but for one reason only. And that is that Fnatic, when they do well in tournaments, they always make it as difficult for themselves as humanly possible. So that means they have to lose this match, Vince.
That is some flawless sound logic, Tom. I am going to be edging with Fnatic purely off the basis of what Golden said. Like, ZywOo just decided today's not the day. And barring that, I think they actually could have won that game against Vitality. So I'm going to expect more of the same here. On Mirage, it's where ZywOo's playground came into effect with 39 kills. And Fnatic had their own moments. Golden with some crazy clutches. So we'll have to see if they can rinse and repeat. They're starting on the CT side. OG picking up the bomb and heading towards A, where there's only Flusher sat there waiting for them. They are setting up for a retake, but they have a kit, they have a smoke in the hands of JW.
Yeah, we'll see if they can perform on this side today. They definitely had their issues yesterday, and as Maniac mentioned, a lot of it relies on this double AWP setup, which they're not going to have in the earlier rounds. Flusher already at the back of the site will be dinked up as the push looks to come in, and the rest of the players already sat in a retake. It looks like he'll have to fall back and join them, and I'm liking the small little things thrown in by OG. They tried to double nade into jungle just in case there's anyone there to clear, but instead they've just been handed real estate and now have to try and hold on.
Precisely. They gave up this plant pretty early on. They've lost two with Valder straight in with the Glock. Crimson Golden sent packing. Fnatic, if they want to get back into this round, you feel like someone's going to need to pull an impeccable few kills together and string this back into proximity, because OG already half the bomb is ticked away. It doesn't look like Fnatic are too interested. They may just want to hold on to these Kevlar, hold on to this kit and smoke. Flusher will be tested, passes with flying colors, but the round is over. OG take it, Fnatic looking to hold on, and I think they will keep these three alive, so at least gives them something to play with, and Alexi will have to replenish his buy, but OG claimed first blood.
Of course, going on at the same time simultaneously will be G2 facing off against Heroic. Same scenario, of course, a battle for the upper bracket, and basically it's like collecting an extra life going into the playoffs. You have one chance to lose, whereas if you're in the lower bracket, well, one shot and you're out. So probably what Fnatic would prefer, if anything. I feel like they are a team that strive under the pressure, but for now, see whether or not OG are going to be sending them in that direction. Now, in the majority of the battles we've seen between these two, OG do seem to come out on top, normally with an Inferno loss in the mix. And well, I think after the Train defeat they had previously, they decided to switch up the map pool a little bit. Although it has to be said, both teams don't have many performances on Overpass. In fact, only a couple each over the last few months, which for OG, to be fair, were victories. But I don't think it's one of the maps that they're completely confident on just yet.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Mirage performances, the last two have gone the way of OG. 16-5, which was earlier in this very tournament, and 16-13 in New York. So you look at those, you think, oh, this might be a little bit of a sketchy one for Fnatic. But we'll see if they can maybe bounce back early on. We've seen so many second-round buys come out successful throughout the duration of the event. And with the FAMAS in play and a scout, you can't really write off Fnatic. 38 seconds, OG taking their sweet time. Still segregated across the board. Alexi on his low HP of 44, trying to fake as if this is a B, keeping two players interested, actually drawing away a third. But now they're seeing smokes fly out, attempting to blot out the sun, and they keep their two players over on A. Time still dwindling. Good incendiary put into position. Brolan spins around for two before he gets silenced, but has the damage already been inflicted good enough to yield the round out of this? MBK on only 3 HP, and Golden cleans them up with JW with a very rough force buy. Fnatic make it stick.
That was superbly played by Fnatic as well. Like, OG going into the last 30 seconds, you kind of think, okay, it's not the end of the world. They've sold a bit of a fake. There's only two players here. But they held an incendiary all the way to, like, I think 25 seconds. So we're sort of sat there going, oh, okay, there's only two players here. They've got to just run into the ramp, and then it's not too much of a problem. But that incendiary plus an HE actually started things off with allowing those rotations. Now, this has gone quite well for Alexi B initially, and in fact, Nantu is even going to keep the advantage for now. In fact, This is now no more rifles available. For Flusher, that's not always a problem, but it's still going to end up as a 1v2. In fact, as Issa with 2 lovely 1Ds leaves Brolin alone.
Alone at range, but the youngster drills in for the first frag, now looking for more. 4 kills already to his name. No idea where NBK resides. With his lowly Tech 9, but the Frenchman makes his bullets count. Fnatic do concede. It's back and forth. These 4 spies will absolutely cripple the CT economy, but it's his Deagle work. I mean, geez, man, they've already had enough of Deagles in the A site. Fnatic have got PTSD off the back of yesterday. Now they have to deal with it again.
Oh no, it's okay. It's Issa. I don't think that's a lot better so far this tournament. Like, I've been really impressed by the fact that we've now had multiple players on this OG roster, and not always the ones that you would expect, performing to a very, very high standard. Like one of the games that we witnessed, I think that was versus Mousesports. They had 4 players over 25 kills. That's just unheard of, and that was actually a closer game than we ever really would have expected it to be. Looks like it's going pretty well, though, for G2 thus far. Obviously, only the early rounds really lost, but that is one of the sort of heavier hitting matches. Now that Endpoint have been swiftly removed from that group, wow, we've already got one in the playoffs, the other 2 just deciding their spot.
Looking to return the favor on A with the Deagles. JW with 2 and lives to tell the tale on 42 HP. Keeping this round alive, it seemed that OG's fast, aggressive hit on A would be too difficult for Fnatic to repel, but they still stand tall. They have an AWP in the hands of Golden. A CZ for Brolan, and Mantu making noise, dropping down, running out of bullets to Brolan, trying to go in for the knife. And now switching across to the Deagle, underarm grenade, doing a bit more damage to Mantu. How the hell are both of these guys still alive? But for no longer is that the case. Brolan through the smoke, threaded onto Mantu, leaving NBK and Alexi to try and hold the line. And it's unlikely at this point with Golden and Mantu both being swept away that JW can get anything done with his 27 HP, so he will look to save his M4. It's been every bit as chaotic as we were hoping for, but OG will lead 3-1.
I feel like DreamHack might have picked the wrong player to go for the player count for there. I think Alexi B's face is probably going to stay the same for the entire match, no matter whether he pulls off an ace clutch or, I don't know, if somehow his whole team died to the bomb, he's probably going to look exactly the same. It's in his blood. He can't help it. But either way, we are just going to see JW on that lone rifle. It was actually quite a surprise to me that Golden decided to push the smoke with the AWP. Like, I'll be honest, at that point, I was already sat there going, yeah, this round is probably done. The bomb's very far ticked. You don't have a kit. It just didn't seem like the play in that situation, especially when you're holding such a valuable weapon. Well, because of it, unfortunately, they're left with even less in this round. It does mean that going into the next, they will have a relatively decent buy. The loss bonus will now start to build up behind them, which is always the problem when you get off to a good start and then things slip away, is that your loss bonus does get absolutely wrecked, as it used to. So if anything, for the Fnatic guys, they should be more than prepared for these sort of situations. But for now, OG have just got to make sure that they don't let any of those silly rounds slip away, because we have seen a fair few in this tournament so far that even if it's only a few pieces, sometimes Fnatic can make that work.
Absolutely. We saw that in the second round. And now there's a few less pieces, but still JW alive, healthy with his M4. However, OG doing a good job of systematically and slowly moving their way into the site, dealing with all the angles, all the potential threats. And you would feel like this is going to be a bit of sanity and a bit of serenity on the server, or perhaps not. JW tries to snatch that piece away before he is silenced, and now Flusher's USP is all that remains. So OG will be able to get the full plant down. Flusher living on borrowed time. 4-1 lead on OG, but Fnatic, as a result of their disciplined approach with their economy, which you don't always hear coming out of our mouths, but they will have a good buy into the next round, including an AWP on JW, assuming that he does pick one up.
I'm actually really intrigued as to where Flusher's going, because there's no guns to save anywhere other than the B site. So I can only assume he's trying to find a cheeky way to get an exit. So he's gone all the way around the map. Might actually bump into Mantu. This, oh no, Mantu's dropped down. It's actually a smart decision. Make sure there's no way for an isolated Jawn. He's very close to killing Issa. In fact, the bomb will do the job. It's no real save, but at the same time, hey, it's an extra bit of cost. And I feel like Flusher's almost the master of that. I still remember it was a long time ago. He decided when he had absolutely nothing to run into a bomb site where the bomb was already going off and just pretend to stick the bomb, and then took 3 players down with him just from a smart little play. I don't think people will be falling for that as much anymore, but at the time, oh wow, he tricked everyone.
That was really cool to see sort of the cogs in his head turning. As he said, he was spotted in B-Apps, quick wraparound, nearly caught Mantu, who just got away with it, but Issa still has to replenish his gun. MBK down to 50, Issa down to 700, so mission accomplished, all things considered. Flusher now into a FAMAS alongside Crims. They do have the AWP on JW, but this is at the cost of utility and any kit across the 5 Swedes. And OG haven't had any issues or troubles so far getting on sites, albeit with Fnatic on low economy by and large. Some chip damage onto Issa, but nothing too serious. And OG keeping their options available, moving back through T-spawn. We'll just leave NBK and Palace, who can try and pivot in for an interference play and listen for some information. 3 players still on Fnatic over on the A site, and they've by and large given up mid control.
Also, one of the things I gave them credit for in the early rounds was holding on to grenades to try and deny this T side. They have a single smoke, an HE and a flash. Well, the HE and a flash probably aren't going to do too much. That's why you're seeing this re-aggression from Flusher. I think he's realized at this point they need to try and find out where this push is going, and they might have missed a beat. The push through connector, but Crim snaps back around. They're probably questioning why on earth he's not on the stairs, but they'll kill him off anyway. Golden has managed to rotate in time, and the AWP still sits at the back of the site. JW in a very good position, but he does deny the plant. I was going to say, they picked an interesting spot, and that one's for free. Fnatic, they're going to get their second onto the board, and yeah, another smiling face.
And this is where that Flusher play that we highlighted before comes back around to actually haunt OG. I mentioned it, 2 players below $1,000, excellent work from Golden, but they're down to a P250, and Issa, very late buy, also to a P250, so they force him with 2 players on the pistol. This is why Flusher goes for those kind of plays. JW watching middle with his AWP, gets flashed twice, flicked down onto Alexi. That was lightning quick, especially as a flashbang landed in his eyes just beforehand. Very nicely done. It's one of the primary weapons as well, so it's not as if one of these pistol wielders can go back and pick it up. They have now got to charge through onto the site, encumbered by CTs, but they're all stuck in around the marketplace. MBK comes straight out with a P250 frag, and Fnatic, their bluff has been called. They only played 1 player on B, and now MBK's picked up the M4 and uses it against the Swedes. And they may have to save already, Tom.
I really like this style of execution as well. Like, you know that Fnatic love to play a double AWP setup, so just smoke out all avenues that they can back in with the double AWPs. They've spotted JW. They know that, well, in most cases, Flusher is going to be playing back towards the A site to try and counter their A takes, so they go for something a little bit quicker. Obviously, a little bit of luck involved. The MBK just manages to completely ruin Golden while on the edge of that smoke, but at the same time, again, it's a relatively common play, so yeah, I think OG have actually just played that round perfectly, and well, Fnatic, they're not going to try and retake that with 2 AWPs, so they have to just give it up.
3 rifles, including Galil's, and 2 pistols. MBK straight through onto Golden, and after his 2K in the previous round, feeling like maybe we'd have another Golden show, but instead he gets slapped down. Double AWPs though picked up, Tom, and Flusher, who's already shown that he is a very capable AWPer in most situations, will be having the second of it. Crims, though, down to a Deagle, and as you can see in another game, G2 are straight up demolishing Heroic. 7-0 start.
Yeah, impressive showing from them. A team, especially, that when they get rolling, they're very, very difficult to stop. So if they're just going to start dominating, as we're seeing Amanek do on our screen right now, Heroic are going to need some sort of combo breaker, and well, I guess that's what we're having right now from Fnatic as well, just taking their time. I will say, Vince, saying the words Golden Show out loud do haunt me. I'm not sure I want to hear that out loud ever again, so please be more careful with your words. But either way, we are going to have a purchase up for OG. And surprisingly, even though they managed to take that round home, their buy is, well, I want to say worse, but at the same time, Crims only has a Deagle. So let's call it equal.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I can write that one off, sure. OG, after a fast B play, or at least setting up for a potential quick A hit, but they can stagger this take for a little bit longer. Now in come the grenades, but Fnatic perfectly poised for this. They've already got 4 players over here. OG, tread lightly. You could be walking into a pretty horrific trap. Good counter nades tossed in by Fnatic additionally, and that may actually save OG. Had they have pushed through, it could have been carnage, it could have been mayhem. They've given up so much map control, and for all they know, one of the CTs could be pushing up middle, pushing up B apps. So they've got to be very careful. They will be wasting a lot of time on their trajectory towards middle or B.
And I like the setup as well. They've basically gambled heavily on JW holding down the reins on the B site. There's no real chance for that same like tasty little smoke setup we saw from OG because they've just used all their smokes. They're going to go walking into JW. He's not going to miss that shot. It may seem like a slim angle, but there's nowhere else for them to go. The second, though, Alexa B is going to charge him down. Golden, however, is already here, looking to try and save the day. Bomb on the deck, and the rest of the team starting to rotate in. No grenades to deny them this time, and Golden, he's just holding things down. It's left all onto Issa, and Flusher comes up with that second AWP. Nice work from Fnatic denying the initial take, and unfortunately for OG, this time they didn't have the utility to get back into B.
A lot of credit to JW additionally, though. Getting the kill and then falling back and stalling enough for Golden to get into position was really important because you saw, because they stacked so many players on A, it was effectively JW alone for that first interaction, that first little shot. So had that have gone away from Fnatic, you could have had another quick B hit. We have the hero buy on Valda, was AK-47.
This is a late decision. Like, some of the players have even had to go back to buy extra stuff. So, like, Alexi B, for example, has just bought up and has left himself with $500. Issa, I was going to say, had $700, but obviously you get 300 for a kill. So he's boosted that up at least a little bit. And then obviously Mantu's trying to save for an AWP. It's a bit of a weird one. Of course, if they can win it, then we're not really going to be talking about economy for much longer, as they'll have the option to retrieve a couple of AWPs and some rifles. But for Fnatic's sake, or their hope in this map, you kind of have to sit here and go, well, this is one you cannot lose.
Yeah, you'd certainly think if Fnatic do want to post up a good foundation on their CT side, these are the kind of rounds you have to bypass without any further incident. Golden is alone. OG again looking to pressure and pivot into a B hit. 40 seconds allocated to them now. Time itself becoming an enemy, almost evening the odds once more. NBK firing off a couple of Deagle shots. That's a big Deag onto Brolan, and then actually cuts off the fast rotation from middle via Catwalk, with Mantu connecting onto Golden. That should be good enough for OG to get a bomb plant and hold the line. Crims is all alone. The AWP of JW's nowhere to be seen. He's put himself in a bit of an off angle, hoping that one of the T's pushes into his crosshair. But be careful what you wish for, Crims, because up close and personal on the left-hand side is Valda, and you have to feel he is living on borrowed time. Valda does collect. And with him collecting the head of Crims, Fnatic have to go save the AWP. OG, with one AK and a few pistols, a very late buy, have somehow made it work.
I'm not sure what's going on with Fnatic in this match so far. Like, every time they get back into it, get themselves in a position where they're almost, well, in the stronger spot, they then lose to some pistols. Like that's what it's been a couple of times. Looking back at what's happened. Oh, is it going to be a tasty little Barup clutch? No.
Nope.
Never mind then. Well, yeah, well, we're basically just cutting back in to go, yeah, they're still losing, guys. Don't worry. They're still getting wrecked. But more importantly, well, Fnatic, that is now 2 rounds, 2 reset rounds as well, that have left them in trouble based off pistols. This is a big problem for them. And they have had some issues on the CT side, which is a surprise, because normally, historically at least, we'd look at Fnatic T sides and go, okay, these are a little bit dicey. Their CT sides are normally impeccable. In fact, I would still remember matches of Mirage, even like way back a few years ago versus the likes of Astralis, where they'd be able to pull back from massive deficits on their CT side. Instead, I don't know, it's just looking disjointed, like individual fights that are going the way of OG. Sure, OG are hitting some tasty shots with the Deagles, but there's been no trade potential in a lot of these kills from Fnatic. And while that's one thing that Maniac pointed out at the beginning of the match, if there's one team that knows how to trade kills, OG is at the top of the list.
Yeah, certainly against what feels like a bit of a vulnerable Fnatic. Most of these successful rounds have been over on B. And you go back to some of the rounds that OG have picked up. I mean, sure, this has been incredibly decisive and surgical precision, but they've had a lot of rounds that really Fnatic will go back to and think we should have won this. They were gimme rounds. They were Deagle rounds, you know, 1 AK. These are rounds you expect the Swedes to pick up pretty convincingly. They were doing it yesterday against Vitality, even with a Zywoo dropping 39 frags. So it seems like things have turned around sharply in the last 12 to 24 hours. And now Golden trying to keep another AWP alive. Doesn't look like any of the Ts will be pushing in his position, so at least that's a small minor victory in a pretty heavy defeat for round 10 coming up. And it's getting to that kind of awkward moment, Tom, where you're like giving them little bits of credit for just saving guns. Like they need to start winning rounds off this.
Yeah, I'm almost starting to question whether or not this is what happens when Fnatic aren't clutching rounds. Like it's just kind of almost a bit depressing. Like they are just being beaten, and OG look by far the better side so far in this match. I don't even think that's arguable. Even if they have let some of the buy rounds slip, they've still looked like the better team. And yeah, sure, we expected them to take Mirage. I don't think that even the people who predicted Fnatic will be sat here going, oh no, Mirage is theirs to take. OG have been better than them both times they played it. But at the same time, this isn't even looking like a Fnatic match so far. And sure, there's a couple of individuals that have been playing quite well. JW's actually got some fairly decent stats so far on the server, but that's not really enough. Like they're letting rounds slip that they never should be. Their economy's getting trashed because of it. And sure, every once in a while they have a cheeky AWP. That was good timing, Golden. Most of the time, OG are pretty good at getting back into these rounds.
Absolutely. They're very good at finding the weaknesses, honestly. They like to poke, probe, and finally make a move when they feel like that instinct kicks in. Crims, any other gun than USP, that's probably a kill, barring the Glock. Unfortunate, but that is the state of affairs. And now Flusher, with a Deagle, can maybe, just maybe, pull off another miracle pistol play. We've seen them do so many in the past. A good jump across for Brolan. There are ways back into this round. They have 2 AWPs. Both AWPs on the server are owned by Fnatic. Just under 30 seconds. Now moving to the site. There's a player coming up through on the CT. That will be Brolan. Flusher still waiting. Great shot from Brolan onto Issa. And with Alexi down to 32, the percentage is now shifting in favor of Fnatic. Enough time has elapsed that they can get up close, and there's still plenty of time on the fuse on the bomb. Valda, 1 on 3. Could Fnatic somehow pull this off? No kits between the 3 of them. An incendiary toss perfectly into jungle, forces Valda's hands to come out into the open. He's looking to try and clutch this one out, but Brolan's AWP stands tall and delivers. Fnatic steal a round away.
What's this game been? Brolan starts that off with a USP kill onto Mantu. It almost was perfectly lined up as well, because you went, yeah, it probably gets that kill if it's anything but a USP. And then 2 seconds later, Brolan's like, what did you say about the USP? Like, I'll have you know, better than an AWP, Vince. Ridiculous. And, well, I sort of mentioned it moments ago, like, maybe this is what happens when Fnatic don't win crazy clutches. Apologies, OG fans. That one's on me. But they're back. And we'll see if they can now, well, sort of strive onwards into this half. They've definitely had some... Well, they had a pretty decent T-side, I would say, yesterday versus Vitality. Like, that was where we were seeing Golden with some crazy moments. Sure, they were losing a lot of initial frags, but they were able to bring a fair few of those rounds back in their favor. Issa is going to catch Crims, who has been having a bit of a rough day, which something we don't say very often. It has to be said, and something I'm a bit worried about if we are going to see this series go the full distance, they're going to need Crims to come online. Especially on Mirage as well. Like, I feel like although Fnatic haven't looked fantastic on this one, we talk about Crims being that king of stairs. And as of right now, I think I've seen him anywhere but stairs. In fact, he's been playing a lot around the ramp. JW in position, but the shot is completely missed. Flusher has taken a lot of map control instead, but they lose Roland in return. And he looks like he's going to fall from his advantageous spot. It leaves Golden to try and pick up the pieces, and he won't last long either. JW 1v3, 13 HP. Valde, oh, he's hunting his prey.
Straightforward frag on Valde, who gets a 3k, and OG instantly bounced back after an awkward loss. But because they did lose that previous round in effectively pistols, there are options available on Fnatic. 2 players could buy it. The other 3 I'm worried about on the $2,000 to $2,500 mark. Do they go in for the purchase? It looks likely. Brolan's got an AUG. JW can afford an AWP, but it's about Flusher, Golden, and Crims. Bit of a mini comeback in the other game. Heroic, after being 7 or 8-0 down, have now picked up 4 rounds in a row. So at least they're going in the right direction. And hey, look, it's the T side. You can get 5 or 6 rounds. You should be okay.
Yeah, it's almost like that sort of blue shell effect that we talk about in Counter-Strike at the moment. After you lose that many rounds in a row, you just keep having buy after buy after buy, and it seems like eventually G2's economy, well, it's looking like it might be crushed right now. So they're still in a pretty good chance. I think that's one thing I've been incredibly impressed with Heroic, is that considering they are a team that has a lot of young players, a lot of players who've come up from much smaller teams, they seem very level-headed. Like, I don't think there's a moment in a match where I count Heroic out like I would other teams if it's going specifically bad. I think a lot of credit in that case has to go over to Cadian. I think he does a great job of like pumping up the roster and bringing everybody back. But yeah, G2, they can't take their foot off the gas because, as I said, they're a team that once the momentum's with them, they're superb. Sometimes, though, it seems like things can slip away from them.
You could definitely shine a light, those same sentiments, into this game as well, Tom. Fnatic need to keep their foot down on the accelerator. They've had a couple of decent results the last few rounds. Last one, of course, they want to forget about real fast. But with this force, if they were to concede, this is a fast track to OG potentially getting 10 or 11 rounds in the half. JW patiently waits. He knows that the second player is going to peek him. Golden, that dig is beautiful. And alongside Flusher, Fnatic quickly turning this round on its head. Golden could go out for more. He's using the smoke, waits for a flashbang, but Alexi's up to the task before he's battered down by JW's AWP. That leaves Valde in a 1v3 with 40 seconds, and he needs to go back and pick up the bomb.
Definitely someone who can win these sort of rounds. I think his form in this tournament has been impressive, and within the recent months, he's shown why he is that star member of this roster. 20 seconds left. He needs an instant win versus JW, and JW hasn't really been missing too many. 1-3-3-7 on the scoreboard as well. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. More importantly, Fnatic are getting things back to 5. Now, again, the money is not perfect for OG, but what we've seen so far is whenever they have a few weaknesses within their own buy, that's when they actually come up trumps. Interestingly as well, considering this is the T half for OG, they have already used up 3 of their tactical pauses. So clearly feeling like they're confident in the CT side enough that they won't need a pause at all, really.
Sure, it makes sense as well, you know, because they must know that they have Fnatic in an awkward position. You know, you get to 10 rounds on the T side, you're in really good shape. And sure, Fnatic's T side, to me, looked stronger than their CT side did yesterday. But you have to play to your own strengths and not your opponent's weaknesses a lot of the time. And I think that does, you know, go back to what you said about the confidence area. You heard Man2 earlier talking with Frankie saying, oh, look, this should be ours. You know, we're really confident. Of course, the player's not going to come on and say they expect to lose. But he did seem to have like this nonchalant approach to it. So OG clearly favoring themselves, but they now need to deliver on that promise. They now need to do something with the tactical timeouts, Molotov, smokes, being tossed into the apps. It does seem Brolan will be tested momentarily. T's making moves through, getting up close. Slight gap in the smoke just at the bottom. May see some feet just protruding through that smoke in a few moments' time, and Flusher's getting so much information for his teammates wrapping around the back. They can now stack 2 players in, and Brolan getting 1 slows down the T's a little bit more. How quickly does Flusher snap into action with these kills? Well, that's brutal. He needed Golden to stay alive, and because Golden went down, it allowed the MBK to look behind him. This flank has been neutralized, and if Golden just gets a kill, you expect OG to fully collapse outside, and that's where Flusher's flank really begins to shine brightest. JW, who's had a great game so far, will be called upon to make something special happen. They double peek him. He did tag Valda, but doesn't frag him, and they last saw Flusher behind. This has been a pretty brutal turn of events for Fnatic, a round that was looking so good.
Yeah, then Valde showed up. He's just got a 4K entry and into the B site. That should never happen, but it's actually quite surprising to me because, again, we saw some vulnerabilities over the last couple of days of the A site for Fnatic. I think that was fairly evident. Their B site, we were sort of almost saying that Brolan was always rotating and didn't have much to do. We wanted to see him positioned elsewhere. This time they've been pushing him a lot. They've been putting him under pressure in rounds where realistically, well, you'd expect him to do a little bit more. This from Valde was so clean. The double peek as well was very well timed, and Crims, I doubt he was expecting Valde to go that far. That's just a confidence peak. Now we go back to what is another dicey buy for Fnatic. They've had many of them, and interestingly, Vince, I think they've won more of them than actual buy rounds.
I think you're right on that one, Tom. It has been a strange storyline for a lot of the games that we've casted over the duration of DreamHack Open Fall. There's so much on the line. These pressure cooker rounds coming back to sting time and time again. JW and Crims playing together. 4 players on Fnatic over on the A side of the map, with Golden having quick peeks through middle. Did land an absurd 1D here earlier, so we know he has it in his repertoire. But OG picking up the bomb one more time and heading over to B.
Yeah, I think this is something that OG are very good at, is like when they do pinpoint your weakness, they're more than happy to pressure it. Flusher with the solo rifle is going to make a play off the back of Golden's flash. It does open things up onto Alexi B. They do have to be a little bit careful. MBK lurking around this B site. Brolan has called for support. I think he spotted someone as well. That's a lot of information, and more importantly, a frag. How has Issa managed to get here, though? He sneaked all the way up in towards the A site. Crims was not expected, but it's a whiff. Not something you put down to Crims's name very often. And because of that, the site has fallen. It has to be a retake, a man-2 spot for an AWPer. Well, I don't think they're going to be predicting this.
No, this is a very difficult read, but Golden, due diligence, finding man-2. Valda onto the open. It's a 1-for-1 trade. All falls on Issa. 10 HP left. He picked up a crazy clutch yesterday, but no repeat performance. Excellent work on Flusher. And at least Fnatic do bounce back, but it will still be a 9-6 deficit come the second half.
Bomb has been defused.
Left of endpoint. Got that immediate trade onto the other AWPer. They are all on the bomb site, and Cadian's cutting them down. He got 2 of the 3, looking for the 1v4, and it's just 1 step away. Tech9's out. Robin's close. Cadian doesn't see him, and that's going to leave endpoint a chance to catch their breath. But you know everybody on the server was just puckered, man. 5 rounds for endpoint. That's so damn close.
He had that, man. I'm shaking my head. Like, I'm shaking my head at disappointment. Unfortunately, like, it was just a bit unlucky, but how you gonna do all that work, Katie, and not get that final kill? That was his. Yesterday, he played so damn well versus Astralis. Despite losing, was the key fragger on Heroic, and I mean, it's
250, bomb planted, and Nib somehow turning this in their favor.
I have no idea how Ants let this just happen. Well, it's not coming in from behind. Taking down Ariel, now X7. Well, he's the last remaining player. No stranger to the Ants banner, but recently been playing over at Havu. He has to try and win the round for Ants here. get picked up. A chance still to win the round. The bomb is not planted. Butchworth, he has to cross into the open, and X7 just swings on by with the headshot. That'll be Ents winning the pistol round. But my God, Alex, that came way too close. Right down to the 1 versus 1. And again, could have went either way. How have Ents let that happen? It's a 5v3.
It was a win.
Z takes 2. And oh my God, they're just bunny hopping across the crosshairs. Nico out here by 6, and Surreal, well, he does connect it, starts to recover the situation because things were getting frantic, they were getting hectic, and they are still possible for Tesses. He has his hands on an M4, and in the 1v3, he's gotten the first, he's got the information on the other 2, and this could be the close, are you kidding? Tesses with a killer instinct goes from Glock to M4.
They're looking down the barrel of yet another group stage exit as the bottom team. And how horrible that would be. Rez with the headshot. Sergey falls victim to the rifle. Alu successful in finding the kill onto Hampus. Now he's going to go back for more, trying to be the hero, trying to deliver, and he's got 3. He really has been the shot.
Edging ever closer to what is the 2-0, and bear in mind, yes, sure, it's day 2, but that would be bye-bye mouse sports. And this isn't just, well, this isn't just pride or money on offer. There's a lot of points, man, too, now. He's seen what Chris J can do, and Frozen goes, you know what? I've seen this one already. I think I'm going to go somewhere else.
Utility, only 4 flashbangs between the 3 of them, and now OG with a fully stacked, healthy, brimming to the confidence squad start to make themselves get up close and personal. Chris J's AK, though, is on point for 2, using that smoke, using the AK, is sprayed down 3. He's having one hell of a map so far, and now Frozen can pick off the stragglers. OG in
Close
trouble.
matches in both our deciding matchups, but this one had an air of being dominant at one point on OG. Fnatic brought it back. Some ridiculous force buy rounds that OG will want to forget about real quick, but they have a chance to put that on the back burner as a distant memory should they win this second pistol. Fnatic straight into aggressive positioning with a HE toss through middle. They're keeping Flusher stuck at the back while the rest of the team start to move in. Mantu up close, Issa letting players cross, and now he goes in, but not anticipating a third, and that catches him completely off guard. Mantu now on sandwich will deliver some delicious headshots, and JW goes back in for 2 of his own. It's back and forth, it's chaotic, but it's come down to a 2-on-2, and things now simmering back down, Tom. They've got the picks, they've got the time, they can now fall back and try and play the mind games.
Usher's going to make his move through mid. There's a good opportunity here for him to potentially catch someone in the back. Interestingly, JW is just going to wait outside. It means he can swiftly move his way back through to the B site if necessary, or he can snap back into A. I feel like he needs to wait a little bit longer, though. He's pushing almost on his own before Flusher's actually managed to make that rotation in. And there you go. He's going to be a bit more patient. I was expecting that, but maybe just was going to use Flusher to try and catch the man from behind. Instead, Flusher now has the chance to kill off MBK. But Nathan, I don't know if he has some sort of sixth sense, but he's managed to make his way past everybody. And although you might be thinking, well, Tom, he's not defending the site anymore, now he spots the players. Oh, he's actually maybe got a little bit too aggressive. The nade is going to dunk down onto JW, but not do very much. And I think he needs to wait for Valde to play this one together.
Game of cat and mouse has certainly etched up a couple of notches. Flusher, right angle as a big trade goes the way of JW. He's picked up 4 already. He's on for the 8th. MBK out into the open, and JW on the brink of something special. That's such an important moment in this matchup. Does he get denied? Yes, MBK actually pivots into action. He's got a kid, but he doesn't have time to play with. Out comes Flusher. Beautiful headshots. But MBK, it will fall on deaf ears, and he goes down with the ship. Unfortunate, great try, but Fnatic playing that 2v2 pretty much perfectly.
The fact that JW was all the way into this A site with the bomb and ends up planting it on B, it pretty much tells a tale of how ridiculous this pistol round was. It had everything, well, pretty much that you could want, especially with the fact that MBK almost just had his opponents thread the needle perfectly. Of course, it is going to be a forced buy back up, a triple scout, in fact. And we saw a deagle in the pistol round. You might consider that a little bit odd. The fact is we've now got 3 scouts into the second round, which, again, is a little bit odd. We'll see if it pays off for OG.
Crims with a freebie onto MBK. That will certainly alleviate some of the pressure and some of the threats across the board on the Swedish side of things, but OG not over-rotating, keeping 3 players on A. It's a 2-pronged idea. If they happen to push into A, you've got a real chance of potentially winning the round. If not, you can just save with 3 scouts. Plenty of one-tap ability coming through into the next round, and Alexi, having tagged down to 19 and getting the information that it will be a B hit, he can now draw fire back over onto A. And if they can hold on to these weapons, Tom, there's still plenty of threats that Fnatic have to be very wary and cognizant of. That Crims with a MAC-10, oh my goodness, absolutely destroyed by Mantu. I was about to say, and it's expendable weapon, as is his life, it would seem. Fnatic unlikely to push too much behind that death. So OG at least securing their 4 players.
So it's quiz time again. Vince, I know how much you love this segment. How many rounds did Fnatic get on the T side versus OG last time they played?
I know it was very one-sided. I'm going to say like 2.
0.
2.
It was a very dominant match. It's the reason I'm bringing it up. So they've already done better than last time. And I'm also going to bring up the fact that I don't think that's going to happen again. Now, when they played versus Vitality, they actually managed to pull out 8 rounds. So they're not a bad T-side team of this map. And especially with what has been, as said, some fairly underwhelming CT sides, I don't think this is out of the question for Fnatic. Like, this is a map that hasn't been particularly good for them, but they've also had some players go almost criminally missing in some of these matches so far. This time, though, I like to see that JW's actually been playing very, very well. I believe he might even be the top fragger in the server. I know it's between him and Valde at the moment, so I'm sure they're both up there. He's currently on 17 kills. I think that Valde might be slightly in front, but it's good to see him performing, because that's one thing that I don't think we have seen too much of, is just crazy JW displays. He is normally that player that you kind of put in a bit of a rift. Like, he could be the best player in the server, or he might just be like sort of a mid-table one. Valde, though, speak of the devil, he has now just matched JW on kills, but it doesn't last very long at all. The trade's coming back thick and fast, as there's still a couple of players on this B side. One of them holding the cross. Crim's already low on HP. JW's been tagged down as well. And well, with 2 scouts remaining, yeah, it's still possible. What? A double nade from Mantu turns this into a 1v1. It's the SMG Master facing off against the Scout King. Mantu with his snipers is so damn good. He doesn't quite get it over the line. 8 HP, and well, there we go. We finally get some facial reactions. Flusher is cool as a cucumber, but that does look like a bit of a sigh of relief.
Bit of a smile now starting to crack up. You can see Mantu is like just the definition of disappointment. He knows how close he was to cementing a ridiculous play that would have got OG hiding in the lead. Yeah. Oh, up they come. Mantu, speak of the devil, he's actually put himself into pole position for this round, so shaking off the disappointment of last round very quickly indeed, and now eyes back on the ball. 9-9, flash out, Brolan, peaked by Alexi B, and that will be a 2-player advantage. Great turnaround for the CTs in their first rifle.
And now we've stopped talking about, like, oh, Fnatic just about managing to scrape over that round, and we have to mention, in fact, that they lost a lot of players. Like, in isolation, you remove the fact that realistically it was 8 HP between a round win. The amount of damage that they did was a hell of a lot. Crims, as mentioned, he has been missing so far, but that kill could be the start of a turnaround. He does take a nasty tag in return. The CT side, although low on utility, still have a big advantage in terms of health and personnel.
That much is solidified, that OG in the driver's seat. Fnatic a low Crims. And up against a pretty informed Valda. 17 frags to his name. Issa, even though statistically he may not be impeccable, he's had so much impact, and now the only impact is a bullet in the back of his head. That's from JW. That gives Fnatic a chance. A lot of pressure now on Mantu. He succumbed to it in the previous round. Opened up this, but he's about to get flanked into position. Time is running scarce. JW with another back attack. Perfectly placed, perfectly timed. OG will have to save. Fnatic stealing another round away.
KW's on one today. He's in that mode. Like this, I will say that the first kill where he manages to sneak behind them, I can forgive. I think that the fact that there was no adaptation there from OG that allowed him to get the second onto Mantu, that's more of a problem. Like, you need to get rid of this man, even if it means that you end up playing a retake on A. I think that had to be the adaptation to be made, because I think one of the last players in the world I'd want to give too much space to is JW. So he's going to capitalize. Fnatic are going to take the lead, and after what was a pretty dominating first half, even if the scoreline might not quite suggest it, OG are now behind. And well, speaking of dominating starts to matches, what was it, an 8-0 in favor of G2? And now they're losing 11-9. They have won just one round out of the last 13. Holy cow.
G2 fans in shambles. Now they know how it feels to be a Newcastle fan. It's all right. Welcome you in.
At least G2 were good.
Yeah, true. Be a long time since I could say the same of Newcastle. OG have themselves 2 M4s, and they'll be hoping that they can dip into that Fnatic magic that saw them win a hatful of forced buy and awkward buy rounds. But you feel like it have to be facilitated somewhat of Fnatic making mistakes, and the way they've played on this T side, and JW in particular, as you said, making so much ground and just having that sixth sense on when's best time to push. It's difficult to see how OG can get back in this. The timing for Alexi couldn't be worse. The second he falls to the ground, his head's removed. Fnatic take the player advantage, and keep in mind that last round as well, Tom, that was a 3v5. And they carved out 2 players on Fnatic through middle. They had mid control and still lost comprehensively.
We are going to see the stack coming under some pressure from a couple of players here. Now, there's a couple of duels that could be isolated, but Golden Patient will win the first, and Mantu already tagged down to just 18 HP. They don't even really need to go in this direction. They should know there's a couple here. MBK, been decent so far, but this is a tall order for the Frenchman to undertake. And in fact, JW is just not missing. Not a shot today.
Mantu catching a stray grenade on Firebox. He was already low, and now Valda. The arduous task of just saving the M4. He will have no impact come the end of this round in terms of the scoreline, but maybe he can in terms of the scoreboard. And he will get flanked around from the side, and who else but JW in hot pursuit? May not have too much longer in this round now, but JW checking the B apps instead of downstairs. They are going to pass by each other. Does JW actually rethink this? At some point, he'll realize he can't be in B-apps, can't be on the side. Does he go back on towards the underpass stairs? I don't think he does. So Valda should be good to save the M4. He at least saves himself a little bit longer. I may have spoke too soon, but Crims has been sprayed down. 11-9 though. Fnatic, 5 rounds on the bounce.
Flash really have 118 ADR. That seems like a ludicrous stat for 14 kills. Has he just been, and especially the assist as well, has he just been battering a load of people for like 40?
Very possibly, yeah.
It's a weird one, because you can't really tell that by watching. It would just be if you spotted him doing some really good utility damage or something, but that's interesting. Because I saw it early on when he had like 5 kills, he was on 140, and I was like, well, that seems excessive, but who knows? Roller has just, well, sent MBK down.
Valda hoping.
This is a take and a half. This is done. Like, oh my god, Valda, he's so screwed. Oh, that's the nightmare right there. You can't get worse than that. You've been hit by 3 Molotovs, and then you're like, oh, I escaped. And then an HE goes off next to your feet.
Spare a thought for Valda, guys. May need your prayers after that. Issa, at least taking down Golden, can trade up to the AK, but it will be 6 in a row. And where did this come from? From Fnatic, we said their T side was certainly the stronger of the two from what we've seen thus far. DreamHack opens fall. I don't think we're anticipating it to be this good, though. And Mantu's head now splattered. Only one saved gun. Had they have saved more, they could have actually gone in for a pretty solid repurchase, but instead they have to use their last timeout. And now we go back to that point. They used 3 of their 4 timeouts on the T side. After this, they've got nothing left.
Well, that's the thing as well, is I would say that most of the time you're using tactical pauses on the CT side in either a situation where you just need to sort of have a breather, or if things are going catastrophically wrong. And I think at the moment we're currently in both. Like, this is one of those things where realistically OG are just coming under high pressure. Like, there's only so much you can adapt on the fly. You'll have your sort of setups that, okay, maybe we'll go for a mid push, maybe we'll try and take some map control away. But the problem is at the moment they're just getting punished in a lot of duels. I don't necessarily think they're playing these rounds wrong, although I do think there's been a moment or two where LXUB has been caught out in quite audacious situations. And it looks like it's possible once again. He's going to go aggressively into mid. That's one of the things that we see quite regularly from teams after a pause is, okay, let's try and get mid control away. The fact is, though, after the initial take doesn't quite go the way they were hoping for, they're just back into passive positions once again.
That's a good point. It does seem like their aggression gets stagnated somewhat and they don't fully commit behind it. Maybe this is the time to make that little alteration. Valda with one. Flashbang could not have been worsely timed, and it was Broland's flash that wrecked JW. Finally, maybe starting to see that this T side may be mortal yet. May not be the impenetrable force that we originally thought. Flusher out with all the ADR alongside him, but won't be getting any extra for the time being. OG bypass. And Valda, who did get the 2, gets traded out. With 50 seconds left, Fnatic need to make moves. It's another perfect peek from Mantu, and it's Crims that goes down to his wake. Fnatic have to play together. That's the best case scenario, is they burst out onto the site and get a quick plant down. But judging from OG's perspectives and their positions, they have a molly and a couple flashes with Mantu on the AWP. And Alexi can toss in that Molotov onto the site, but he's actually whiffed it. It forces him out of position. That's so awkward. Oh, bruh. You have to feel bad for him. Imagine if that ends up costing the Mantu. I think he knows what's coming up. It's okay. You can breathe a sigh of relief, Alexi. And he goes in for the kill. So it all worked out in the end. OG get their first CT round.
It does seem to be weird that every time they have some sort of SMG or something missing from their buy, that they manage to win it. Obviously, the SMG had no impact whatsoever, but it just seems odd. Great round though from Valde, and that's been one of the things that we have witnessed throughout this match, that this man has single-handedly won them multiple rounds. There was a 4-man entry frag from him in one of them. Granted, he just basically ran through and had some dual peaks and nice flashbangs to help him out. I'm not saying he's a one-man show, but it's been impressive from him, and there have been a few pieces that are normally there missing. In fact, although we talk about in-game leaders as normally the players who sit further down the board, Alexi B so far in this tournament has been very, very impactful on Mirage, and not happened so much in this series, so far at least. It may not matter though. If they can start to string rounds together themselves, could be a different story, but that's something we really haven't seen much in this whole map. It was very back and forth, individual rounds being won by Fnatic over on their CT side, and then having their economy wrecked once again. It seems, however, that for this round at least, Fnatic are in a little bit more of a default. Some patient players waiting on the ramp, top mid, the underpass being slowly taken. Something that OG has said have kind of given them for free. The last round was a bit of a difference in MBK. Oh, he patiently waits. That's JW out of the round already. Valde forced from position, but nobody there to capitalize.
Broland funneled into the spray of Valda from that Molotov, has to actually run back into it just as it dissipates. He's down to 41 as a result. Only 7 rounds of 22 up to this point have gone the way of the CTs. It has been incredibly T-sided today on Mirage. And that would suggest that maybe OG, once they can get their hands onto a bit of economic stability, can up that ratio. Flashbang, Flusher, not peeking behind it. Mantu in a bit of an awkward position. Joined by MBK, but only with an MP9 in kitchen, so he can't really do anything at range. This puts Mantu in an awkward position where he's trying to watch two angles simultaneously. That's why MBK is making moves up to Catwalk now. It allows Mantu to focus his fire elsewhere, but he goes back in one more time to check and gets rewarded with the kill. He goes down, but the damage to Fnatic has been severe. The CTs get caught in transition, only 15 seconds in which they can play with. But this is where MBK's positioning could be a little bit of a nuisance on Fnatic. 10 seconds to go. Brolan watching into kitchen, anticipating a peek. It will be Issa. The timing wrecking Brolan. That could have easily been a kill, but they still dart back in. They still bring it down to a 2-on-2. Flusher just catching the elbow of Issa around the corner, but still looking into kitchen. And as they get baited out of position, Flusher goes in for one more. He's had so much impact in this game already, but he's against the top fragger in OG. Valda, the headshot comes in, and Flusher winds back the years. Beautiful clutch, beautiful play.
You almost got a smile there, DreamHack. You almost got a smile. This is the round that breaks them. This is the round that breaks them. I just don't see OG coming back from this. An incredible play from Flusher. It has to be said as well, Brolan, he may have only got one kill in that move, but it may have been the most important kill of the entire round. It gives them access to the B site. He also forces MBK back off the angle. And now just look at how aggressive OG are trying to be. They're trying to react. They're trying to almost jump straight back on the horse. You've fallen off a couple of times, but we don't want to give this map up. We want to put the pressure straight back onto Fnatic. It's almost like sort of that kid that's trying to make it up to their parents after they do something wrong. Unfortunately, it may not quite work out that way. You don't always get forgiven straight away. Valde, he's managed to at least find one here. They do have a little bit of a gap in the smoke. Golden, he's trying to pre-fire it, but he loses his life to the Dane as well, who's performing incredibly well. Crims, however, will put it down in an awkward interaction. JW's met Alexi B on the flank, and Alexi B wins it. That clears out Palace. It puts Brolan in a really awkward spot. He knows that there's a man coming from behind, spots him out, sits back, trying to hold on. He's got a teammate further back on the ramp, but he's not too much help at this point. And Crims, he's going to have to try and take the 1v3. It doesn't happen. And we see Alexi B now join the server. A 3K that is more than impactful. And maybe OG aren't out of this just yet.
They may not be out of it just yet, but they are certainly still in danger. Alexi, very important moment, as you highlighted, Tom, and that allowed him to then pierce in for another two. Very close at the end as well. They didn't have a kit, so it was a full 10-second defuse and only had about a second or two to spare. Goes to show the importance, but they're not out of the woods just yet. They can't see the sunlight for the trees. And they also have to deal with a very financially stable Fnatic. Sure, after this, they might be struggling a little bit more, but it's full AKs, grenades, so very well placed, doing tons of damage to Brolan and Golden, but they still concede the first player. And this time, the impact of Alexi will not be felt in any potential retake. And it also puts a lot of more pressure and strain on that middle defense. Mantu gets desperate as a result, goes looking, he's fragged by Flusher, who is seriously feeling it right now, Tom, and he is one of the most dangerous players in the world when that's the case.
I like OG at the moment, a bit like a domino effect. There's constantly moments, well, let's be honest, I don't want to harp on the IGL of the team, but I've noticed that Alexi B is going for an awful lot of opening duels. We can even look at the statistics, and so far he's not been winning many of them. 1-4. I think that's now even 1-5 if you include this round. And since then, once that player is lost, the rest of the team are trying to react. They're trying to come back into the rounds, and that's a problem because they're just walking into Fnatic players and giving them duels. And, well, Fnatic are looking on form in this map so far. Now, they do have a couple of low players. Valde, he's been playing very well, but it comes down to the decision of this T side. Golden's making a hell of a lot of noise. He's going to go jumping in, and I think he spotted both players. That should be the decision now. Fnatic's going the other direction. Valde, though, he runs through the Molotov. A big chance. They're all desperately low. He took a big risk, and it almost paid off. And now Issa, 1v3. He needs a repeat of yesterday. He's dropped the bomb. There's only seconds to spare. They're going to get it down in the nick of time. And now he has to try and win the 1v2.
Oh my God, Tom. I thought they lost it when he knocked him down in the smoke. But he's at least, because of that kill, made up enough ground, and Fnatic haven't fully planted their feet into their retake positions, but now they have it. He does have a HE. Where does he elect to toss it in? If anywhere, gets peeked by Flusher, and the confidence just coursing through his veins. Heroic, meanwhile, by the way, on for a map point. And keep in mind, again, that was 8-0 to G2. They've actually done it. They've won the game. That's an unbelievable comeback.
The resilience of that Danish team is honestly so impressive to me. I said it earlier when they were just making a small comeback. That is ridiculous, and I think G2 are really going to be feeling that one. Speaking of comebacks, OG, they're looking for one themselves. Alexi B battling in mid. Brolin's pulled out the SG again. I wonder if that's another Crim's misbuy or if that is an actual purchase. Nonetheless, whatever it was, it's worked. And this is the round that will completely break OG. I said it earlier, I thought the clutch that they lost might have been enough to break them mentally. Valde has also been spotted. They know he's in this window. Easy for JW. 24th kill of the game. YMDK is going to get one, but JW is there to return. It's left all onto Man2. He's not having a worldie, but 4 kills would definitely be enough. Unfortunately, it's not happening this time. And while I've noticed we've started to go to Man2's face a little bit more, we got more reactions from him.
You don't need to be a body language expert to read how he's feeling about this right now. Pretty devastated, and in terms of their buy, their economy also devastated. 2 FAMASs, 2 MP9s, and a Deagle. That is it. Fnatic on the brink of taking OG's choice of map here on Mirage. We had our doubts, we had our worries, and our curiosities, but Fnatic have answered all those questions and even more. Inferno next battlefield, and JW straight through on the murder hole, trying to live up to the name, but it's actually his life that's been deemed forfeit. And OG put a second alongside it. Valder up close onto Crims, who tries to make the most of that momentary weakness. And OG, they continue going in the right path. I almost wrote this off in my mind when I saw the buys come in, but fair play, it may not be done just yet either. We saw Golden with a miracle clutch in this very position yesterday, but too many angles to cover. And well played OG. Not only do they take the round, they keep 4 players alive and trade up to 3 AK-47s.
I feel like I'm almost going to throw the desk under the bus a little bit here, but I really hope somebody's been counting how many rounds that OG have won without having a full buy. Because it is starting to get a little bit ridiculous. Like we saw in some of the early rounds of this match, they were able to win with, what, a couple of SMGs, maybe 1 rifle. That happened multiple times. They've just done it again. Like, this was not a good purchase. And you saw the almost sheer confidence of Fnatic trying to just end it here and now. They've given over another lifeline for OG. Pretty decent headshot percentage, of course, coming out from JW. He's been having a great performance. It has been him facing off against Valde. Valde and opening duels as well. Well, a few rounds ago, he was 5-0. I don't know if that's changed. I can't think of a round where he's been opened up onto. So maybe let this man go for the openers. 27-16. No one else on the team even close. In fact, 10 kills behind this second. And it's actually MBK.
Saw a statistic there. JW with 16 headshots. 3 players on OG yet to even hit the 16 mark. Absolutely savaged. And now Man2, one of those players under 16, he's been silenced again. He may not get a chance to add to that mark because Fnatic breathing down a very real possibility of taking this map and making it theirs. Brolan, great cost to his health. Flusher watching his back just to make sure there's no aggression from OG. Which by and large, Tom, it's something we mentioned before, they haven't been too aggressive on their CT side. If you compare the two, Fnatic had Flusher moving around the back, looking for information. They were pushing into ramp, pushing through Palace. OG have been a little bit more static. And this may not be the time to switch it up when you're a player behind already.
Crims, he's going to battle out from the Palace. That's the Danger Dane gone. And now he's looking for more. Issa doesn't have much support. In fact, no one's even rotating to help. Crims realizes this battle might not be worth taking, but he goes back for more. He had a slow start, but this round might be enough for everybody to forget. Alexi B, he's found a trade at least, but Crims is looking to do it all. A 3rd kill already. And Nathan is the last man standing. He won't be able to do it. The last time they played Mirage, Fnatic managed 0 rounds on the T side. This time, Vince, they got 10.
Yeah, I think it's an overused term at this point, but honestly, Tom, I think that was a vintage performance by JW and Flusher. When you look at these two in tandem, it was like watching the Swedish scene of a bygone era when Fnatic were absolutely at the top, and this is probably a big part of why Maui felt like these guys may very well win the whole thing. Roland had some big moments, but by and large, he wasn't called upon to be the carry. JW and Flusher were excellent.
Well, luckily for us, you mentioned Maui, and now he gets the mic for a little bit. We're going to be handing it off to a short break, and then we'll be back with Freya in the desk.
So often, he can't even get started on the round. He always constantly having to look for that inner push. But this is his bread and butter. Working ladder, taking lots of damage, being happy to go out and take a risk. And we'll even follow up on this. No, I thought he was going. Yeah, it's actually Sean to get a 2K in the process, and Flames can't even get started.
Killer, no scope, down, just combat hopping.
CT's tried to match them once again, but his Carrigan's gone. He's been very hit and miss so far in this match, and while the hits have been a lot less in comparison to the amount of times he seems to go down towards long. I do believe that with at least a decent amount of rounds, this is possible. And Chris, he almost gets 2 there. In fact, he's going back for more. Feeling the confidence is Chris J. And he gets the last as well. This man's come out of nowhere with an ace to close. OG go marching on. They survive, and they get to play the decider match to potentially go back into the upper bracket for the playoffs. For Mouse Sports, elimination. Round 8, he looks to start them on that trend. It's his turn now. Dear Lord, I genuinely don't think their social media manager can keep up with the amount of clips he's going to have to upload today. This is ridiculous. Another triple kill, Alexi B, why not? Through the smoke, Valde wants to close in. Chris J can't survive. It's the quad for Valde, and a 16-6.